Welcome to Get Celebritized. I'm Maria McGarry, your host, and I am so excited to have you with us here tonight. Happy New Year, happy 2022, and I just know great things are in store for you because if I have anything to do with it, I'm going to bring you amazing people, especially some great women that have got it going on. And I mean, life happens, but they keep on going. They're successful. Some are entrepreneurs, some are CEOs, some are nonprofit founders, but they all have a story to tell to help inspire and encourage you all, us all, to be the best we can be no matter what life throws at us. So it is my honor and privilege tonight to have two amazing women who are going to inspire you to hopefully have the best year you've ever had, to really live your best legacy, and to believe in yourself, believe in what is happening to you. It's happening for a reason, good or bad, that you can take it and make it your legacy. So tonight, my first guest, actually, if you've seen my TEDx talk, and if you haven't, what are you waiting for? Go to YouTube, TEDx Maria McGarry, and it's there. It's up. So go watch it because at the very end is a very powerful moment that I share because this woman I'm about to introduce you to is one of my heroes. And I'm going to let her tell you her story. You can see more about it, like I said, in my TEDx, but she's here today live in person to tell her story of tragedy to triumph. And without any further ado, I am bringing up a beautiful woman, a beautiful friend now, who's been at my Live Your Legacy Summit as a legacy honoree, Scarlette Lewis. Scarlette, welcome to Get Celebritized.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I am so glad you're here. You have no idea what an honor it is to have you here. Anybody that's around me, anybody that's within 3 feet of me, here's your story because I love to give women especially hope because life can get hard. These last couple of years were really hard. But to me, there is nothing worse than what has happened to you. And you have bounced back, not only just bounced back pretty quickly, I think, after what happened to you. You didn't wait years and years and go off in a hole, which we would have given you all carte blanche to do. You bounce back with your son and you're making the world a better place. And you're making our world a better place because of something that horrific happened to you. So I'm going to hand you the mic. Would you please tell the listeners and the viewers a little bit about your story and what happened several years ago to you and your family?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I am a Sandy Hook school victim's parent. So very unfortunately and tragically, I sent my child to school on December 14th. It was a Friday. It was a normal day. Started like any other. And unfortunately, there was one of the worst mass shootings in U.S. history that happened at Jesse's elementary school, where a former student shot his way through the glass doors and proceeded to gun down 20 first graders in 2 classrooms and 6 educators in one of the worst mass shootings. I was a single mom with 2 boys. And of course, my life changed 180 degrees that day. I found out very shortly afterwards that Jesse's brave actions had saved 9 of his classmates' lives. And the first time I went back to my little farmhouse where I raised my 2 boys, I found a message that Jesse had written on our kitchen chalkboard shortly before he died. He wrote 3 words: nurturing, healing, love. Now,
Why did he write that? Was it a message to you or something?
Well, I believe that it was.
Now we know, yeah.
I believe that he had a spiritual awareness that he wasn't going to be around for very much longer. It was a message. It was a message of comfort for his family and friends, but a message of hope for humanity. And literally, I felt like he had given me a platform and that it was my life's purpose to spread that message. So literally for every single day for the last 9 years, I have been traveling all throughout the world, spreading that message of nurturing, healing, love.
You really have. I'm so impressed as I, reconnect with you because last time I saw you was oh gosh, several years ago. I don't remember what year you were an honoree at my summit, but went back to your website, which the Choose Love Movement, which is so amazing. Y'all have to check out her website. ChooseLoveMovement.org I'm going to put that up for you while we're talking. There it is. Because it's so filled with all of the things that you're doing and all the ways you're helping with the schools, and you've really done this. But I want to go back just for a second, because here you are, a mom, and you go and you find this message from your 6-year-old. I mean, that's not something that an average 6-year-old is just doing, writing such profound words on a message to you. What do you think led up to that? And what really gave you the wherewithal to take that and run with it when you were experiencing the worst moment I can think in anyone's life, losing a child?
Well, I truly believe that was a spiritual message, because Jesse was a little rough and tumble cowboy. That's how I like to describe him. And so those were not words that we said at home. I wish they were. They weren't. He hadn't learned them at school. So just an incredible message. And I saw that message, and I knew that if our shooter, former student, young man who had been able to give and receive nurturing, healing love, that the tragedy would never have happened. And I decided to be part of the solution. I mean, what happened at Sandy Hook, and unfortunately has happened over 350 times since, over 50 times last year alone.
How many times last year?
Over 50.
Last year in 2021?
Correct.
Wow.
Yes. So these are school shootings in America, and they're all preventable. And so I couldn't do anything but dedicate the rest of my life to keeping our most precious asset, which is our children, safe, preventing what happened to my son at Sandy Hook, because it can be prevented. And so I have worked for the past 9 years to create no-cost resources for schools, homes, and communities that can keep our kids safe and promote health and well-being.
What is the solution? You said there's a solution that can be prevented. What? Yeah, I know people, you can watch the news, everybody's chiming in on this a million different ways, but I want to hear it from you, because you are somebody that's experienced this. What is some of the solution, or a solution to this that they're just not listening to?
Well, I looked to see what they were doing for school safety. And we had been focusing on reacting. There's something called the pathway to violence. And so usually school violence starts with a grievance, and then it stair steps up into an attack. We'd been reactive and focusing on the negative, which is actually how we're wired to think. And so we've been focusing on the attack end. We've been doing a lot of hardening. We were putting our kids through active shooter drills. And what we weren't doing, however, was focusing on the root cause of the violence. And I knew that if we didn't address the cause of the violence, that we could never come to a solution.
Is that mental health that you're talking about more?
It's absolutely the mental health and wellness of our children. And there are actually essential life skills that are social and emotional in nature that we can teach, that have to be taught, actually. And I'm talking about how to have healthy and meaningful relationships, how to manage our emotions, how to learn from, grow through, and even be strengthened by difficulty, how to make responsible decisions, just to name a few. These are essential life skills that we need in every aspect of our lives. We're not born with them. We have to learn them. And it's not just about having them up here. We also have to practice them. So this was something that schools were absolutely not focused on. In fact, less than 10% of schools even had programming like this. And so I created programming. I took the best of the best and the most effective of what was out there, including mindfulness and neuroscience, how the brain works, positive psychology, character education, social and emotional intelligence, post-traumatic growth, and more. And I distilled that down into one program. I made it across the board, from pre-K through 12th grade, for parents, for communities. And I made it no cost, because I knew that this would have saved my son's life. And
Right.
I encourage all of your listeners to go on and check it out on chooselovemovement.org.
Scott, that's great in a sense, and I love that. But I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. I mean, that sounds wonderful. That if the kids, which we all wish would, have great parents at home, even if it's a single mom, a single dad, doesn't even have to be both parents, but somebody at home, guardian, that is taking an initiative. But what about the ones, like, I don't remember, it's been so long, you can tell us, the home situation of the gunman of the Sandy Hook and all these other ones. I'm just assuming that they're not home with great parents home, doting. It seems like they're probably the ones that are cutting school, not having a good social interaction at home. There's probably a lot of things wrong on the back end. Tell me your thoughts on that, how we could make a difference in that, because the perfect scenario is what you just said. Super great for the average child that has, a great home. But what about those that it's a completely different scenario at home, that the parent is either not, absent, or a drug addict or alcoholic themselves, or mental issues themselves? A lot of other things could be going on at the home to derail that whole thing. What does that look like, and how can that be taken care of?
That's a really, really great point. And the argument against teaching these essential life skills in schools and rather focusing all on academics is that these essential life skills are something that are taught at home. And that home is for that, and school is for academics.
Right.
And
we wish home was for that.
Best case scenario, home is for that. But here's the
Right.
thing, and this is something that I realized very quickly. We have to learn these skills and tools. And if you didn't learn them at home and or in school, then you don't necessarily have them to even teach. You can't give what you don't have as an adult. And I have to tell you that I didn't have a lot of these skills and tools. I had great parents. I have a college degree, but I did not know a lot of what is in the teachings in the Choose Love movement. So literally, you can be the best parent. You can love your kids and care for them. But if you don't have these skills and tools, you can't give what you don't have. And for those parents that don't have them, then their kids are getting them in school. And here's the other thing. Best case scenario, the parents know this and they teach it. These things have to be practiced and reinforced. So school is the perfect place to do that.
What are some of the things that you're talking about that have to be practiced and reinforced? Can you mention a couple?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have a powerful formula that we teach that helps you choose love over fear. And this sounds like a good idea right now. Its time may have come. So we teach about courage. Courage is the most important character value because it's the one that underlies all the rest. Courage is so important. Of course, Jesse showed a tremendous example of courage when he stood up to the shooter and saved 9 of his classmates' lives. That's an extraordinary act of courage. And we all, by the way, have the capacity for that. But I'm talking more about everyday courage, the courage that it takes to do the right thing, to tell the truth, to be vulnerable, to be your authentic self, to face fear instead of resisting and avoiding or maybe even numbing yourself. And we know through science that courage is like a muscle, that we have to practice it to strengthen it. So we do things to strengthen our courage. One of those things is coming to the present moment where life is happening right now. By the way, the majority of our time is not lived there. And that is the way to live your life with the fewest regrets, is being present with the ones that you love. And I am very thankful that I did practice that. But coming to the present moment and breathing, focusing on yourself, grounding yourself, getting yourself into the present moment. We also do brave poses, which are expansive poses and help with your executive functioning. All of these things to expand your courage. And then we focus on gratitude. And here's a really kind of interesting tip. You have so many thoughts every single day, the majority of which we know through the latest neuroscience are negative and repetitive, and that's to keep us safe. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but and your listeners know that we all have those negative thoughts. And here's a little way of using gratitude. You will never forget this. You will use it for the rest of your life. out of the tens of thousands of thoughts that you have every day, you can only focus on one at a time. So you can only focus on a lower energy, frustrated, anxious, resentful thought or a grateful thought. So when you're having that lower energy thought and you want to shift, you can think of something that you're grateful for. And there is always something to be grateful for.
Oh, yeah.
It may take courage if things aren't going your way, but there is always something to be grateful for. And that literally neuroscientifically strengthens us to consider forgiveness. And forgiveness is such an important part of my healing. In fact, it's probably the most important part. I learned through the process of forgiving that it's actually a gift that I give myself. It's not actually a gift that you give to the other person.
Right.
It was a way for me to cut the cord that attached me to pain, that allowed me to take my personal power back and not let the man who murdered my child have power over my thoughts that impact how I feel, that then impacts my behavior and how I show up in relationships. So forgiveness is so vitally important. Of course, it takes courage to forgive, especially if the person who hurt you isn't sorry, doesn't care, or may not even know.
Yeah.
And then the last character value is compassion in action. And compassion has two components. It's actually the identification component, so identifying someone in need. And then it is the action component when you actively do something to help ease that person who is in need or suffering. And of course, it takes courage to step outside of our own busyness and distraction, or even our own pain and suffering and inward focus to help someone else. But when we've had the courage to do that, actually, when we've had the courage to be grateful, even when things aren't going our way, to forgive, even if the person who hurt us isn't sorry, and to step outside of our own pain to help somebody else, we have chosen love, and we have actively done something to be part of the solution and to create a safer, more peaceful and loving world.
You know, you're talking about the courage and all these lessons to learn that are amazing. I hope everybody goes on chooselovemovement.org, the website, to see this. And I think about your little precious Jesse, and I'm going to zoom into you again because he's in the background and he's just precious. So cute, just so full of life. There he is. Oh my gosh, yes, bring him up. Oh, sweet little precious Jesse. That little boy, that little 6-year-old, had more courage without having to be taught, without having to go through the STEP program. It was there and it came out. And I cannot imagine an adult, myself, anyone, that looks a gun in the eye and then in that moment turns around to save everybody else to run, and stares right at it and sacrifices his own life. And in my heart, if I give too much thought to that, I think about that gunman. I want to do some things with that gunman. And I think of you saying, if you can forgive the gunman, we all can. You know, my dad was murdered by the mafia, but I was, 15 when it happened. My dad was an adult and whatever. It's different when it's a child and somebody that could do that to the most innocent in this world. It boggles my mind. And it's so easy to hate that person. Rightfully so, we should, right? But you have processed that, which is probably a show in itself to talk about how to get through that type of grief. But did you know the gunman, or is there anything particular that has made it doable? Because it sounds great in talking about that you've done it. Do you still struggle with it, or is it really, you really have it now? Is there a tip you can give anybody that may have lost someone in a tragic way and they're having struggles with forgiving? Sometimes it might be forgiving God or forgiving the person because some people are mad because they lost loved ones to COVID and they're just mad at God, maybe, or maybe they're mad because, like us, we've had somebody that's been murdered. So can you walk us through a little bit of what that looks like and how you can help them?
And I want to say it's so hard to lose a parent as well. That unconditional love is really, really hard. Um, you know, I felt compassion actually for the shooter, and I know that that's hard to believe, but I knew that somebody that could do something so heinous. Remember, he had just graduated from that school district himself.
Did you know him?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I have never crossed paths with him. But I knew that someone that could do something so heinous must have been in a tremendous amount of pain. And actually, I learned things about him that made me realize that was true. He had special needs, and he had needs that were known but not met. He was constantly harassed and bullied. He was isolated and neglected. I could tell you a couple stories
Wow.
like, when he came to first grade and he had a backpack filled with birthday invitations that he and his mom had made. They gave them out and no one came to his party. One other time when he was in fifth grade, he wrote a story and he actually made copies of it and brought it to school with the intent to sell it. It was called The Book of Granny. And in this book, there was a witch that came to Sandy Hook Elementary School where he went to school. And she had a broomstick, and the broomstick opened into a semi automatic weapon and she murdered children.
Oh my
Now,
God.
that story was seen, it was taken, but there was no follow-up. And so,
Wow.
we have this expectation that kids are going to say, raise their hand and say, excuse me, I'm having thoughts of self-harm and harming others. Can you please get me professional help?
Right.
But, they almost
That
always
that was the
cry
raising of
out for
hands.
help.
Yeah, that was the cry for help right there.
Yeah, there's almost always a cry for help. And if you put yourself in his shoes, and you were crying out for help and you were constantly ignored, you can understand how that would provoke anger. And of course, he had absolutely zero emotional intelligence. He didn't know how to identify his emotions, much less manage them. And so he simply couldn't. And it turned into rage. And I think that he thought, if you're not going to pay attention to me, you're going to pay attention to me now. And we did. And
Right. Oh my
so,
gosh. All the
we
way.
need to learn from that and we need to do something different. Clearly, what we're doing isn't working. And we really need to address the root cause of that so
And is
that we
that what you do with your movement too? Do you help early, I don't say early detection or to get help? Because those signs, as we've seen in the last 10 years, I think people have been talking about it. I only know it superficially from news, hands on because you're in it. Do you feel that it's changed at all? That people are more hyper aware if a child comes to school and writes something that could be, showing any kind of signs of distress? Are they better now? Obviously, I'm thinking not, because if we had 50 more shootings last year, how good have we gotten at this? And what are you all doing to help? And how can we help you help this situation?
Well, unfortunately, in Oxford, Michigan, a shooting that just happened where 4 kids lost their lives, that was an incident too of that young shooter drawing a gun and writing down, help me, I'm having thoughts of blood is everywhere. And unfortunately, he wasn't given the help that he needed at the time, and there were dire consequences. So yeah, absolutely, everyone can get involved. It makes you feel good actually to do something that is part of the solution. I just invite everyone to go on the chooselovemovement.org. There's really something for everyone. You can register. We have a book club, we have podcasts, but we have so many resources for educators. We've got resources for pregnant women. We have resources for infant toddlers and daycare providers and new moms.
Mhm.
Pre-K through 12th grade, we've got resources for school counselors and for parents, grandparents. Get on there and check out what the parents have. And then also for communities. So I think it's really such an important time now in our country and in our lives and in our history for us to focus on uniting in something that we all have in common. There is something that is an immutable force in every single one of our lives. We all want and need it, and that is love. Love
Amen.
is connection and healthy relationships. And the thing is, we are not born with the skills and tools to have that actually, or to manage our emotions, or to make responsible decisions. It's so interesting. We have to learn this, and it's not hard to learn, and it's not hard to teach. And so that's all of the resources are on our website, and they're all no cost. So I just encourage everyone to go on and talk about it, because it's a movement. It has spread to over 10,500 schools in every state by word of mouth. We're also in 150 countries. So please talk about it. Share it on social media. Let's get the word out.
Well, I love that too. Speaking of which, being, spreading the word and getting it out there, it kind of reminds me of what we did after 9/11, where it's, see something, say something. That if we're all hyper aware, if our children are aware but not scared, but, we have conversations, those of us that are parents at home that were active and the grandparents, we all just keep this dialogue going. Then the ones that don't have the resources, that don't have the loving homes, that have the problems, we'll be able to spot it, I guess, because we're just should be more hyper aware of what could go awry at any moment without living in fear, just being that awareness. Love that. So on that note, can people invite you to come to their school? I know things are different now with, COVID and all that, but moving forward, people will listen to this podcast, years down the road. Do you go in person to schools, or do they start their own movement in their own schools?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do want to just back up for 1 minute and say that we want to focus on proactively preventing what happens. And so we want to start in the beginning so that we can cultivate kids that can choose love in any situation, circumstance, or interaction, so that we don't have to resort to the see something, say something programs. But they're important. They're in schools now. They're not enough. But I would say the Choose Love movement with those kinds of programs are incredibly effective. In fact, such an important part of school safety to address the school's culture like this, and to create and cultivate a connected, loving and compassionate culture is absolutely the most important part of school safety. So yes, I speak. I've written 2 books, one of them called Nurturing Healing Love, and the other called From Sandy Hook to the World, which is more about the movement. The first book, Nurturing Healing Love, is really about the first 6 months of my healing journey.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. There's tons of videos and resources on our YouTube page. I absolutely do speak all over the world. And it's my favorite thing to do, because that's my purpose in life, is to share my story. But more than my story is what I've learned through my story and how it can help other people.
And you really have helped other people. I know you have so inspired me. One of my heroes, at my Living Legacy Summit, I always brought in great people that have been through the trials and come out with triumph and start a nonprofit. And that's part of my TEDx talk, was about that. And you were just the epitome of the example of bouncing back and taking something so horrific and turning into something great and love, and still believing in humanity. Scarlette, still is just so, it's so soothing to me to know there's other people out there that can do that and can forgive and can live this life, because we all get different cards in these hands, these deck of cards we get dealt every day. And those of us that can do the best we can do, and we try to help others, because we're all weak in different areas. And I'm so impressed with you, and I'm so glad that I was able to meet you and hear your story. So in the last minute, Scarlette, if we could help you, how can we best help you, support you? I know it's a nonprofit. Do you do fundraisers or donations? I want to help you do whatever it is you need from here on out. So tell us what we can do to support you and your movement.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We absolutely do take donations. All of our programming is no cost. So that's how we continue to offer that. We do have fundraisers. Actually, the month of February has been Choose Love Month in multiple states for the past 9 years. And so we've got lots of entertainment and celebration, lots of practices and resources that we create just for that month. I'd love for your listeners to join in and take part in that. But mostly just spread the message. People need to hear about this. It's a different way of thinking. I mean, what we're doing now clearly isn't working. And this is a different way of thinking. This is a proactive, preventative way. We address the root cause of a lot of suffering. And it's not just about school shootings. It's actually about mental health. It's about substance abuse. It's about a lot of issues, including anxiety and depression and suicide. This addresses the root cause of all of that. And when you address the cause, you can prevent these terrible things from even happening. And so that is really what we're trying to do. And we definitely need help. It's going to take everyone standing up and doing their part to help create a safer, more peaceful and loving world. I think it's really important. It's the time is now to take a stand and say, you know what, school shootings, all of these mental health issues. I think the mental health and wellness of our children was just called a national emergency. So we really need to stand up. Our children are our responsibility. All of us. They are our most precious asset. They have to be a priority. Their health and well-being should absolutely be our priority. And so, you know, take responsibility for what's going on in your communities. Make sure that your school has a comprehensive year-long character, social, emotional development program. If they don't, introduce them to Choose Love. There's really no excuse not to have that now.
That's great advice. Great advice. Because if mental health wasn't a big deal before the pandemic, it really is now. I mean, it's always been a big deal, but if it isn't on everybody's mind, it is now. I mean, because, you know, we get maybe a little desensitized with shootings, and unfortunately it can be like too much of an occurrence. But now add that to the pandemic, and now everybody's starting to feel their own children as healthy as they could be, and everything loving and nurturing. But all of a sudden the pandemic hits, and that's a whole nother level of even the healthiest, most loving families, whether it's your children, yourselves, or your parents, going through some mental health issues because of the quarantines and just everything we've been through together as a world. So now it's kind of like exploded. So if not now, when? And this is the perfect timing when this perfect storm has hit. I feel that we were there. We did have this mental health issue. Nobody seemed to be addressing it. You were trying, and now you're doing well. Now this on top of it, I hope everybody now gets the memo and gets on chooselovemovement.org, gets into their local schools, because together we can all really make this difference. I don't know a mother, because I deal with a lot of mompreneurs, and I don't know a woman or a mother that doesn't either have kids in school or knows of kids in school, or their kids have been through schools. Now they can go back to the alumni and say, look, I have some help. Here's some resources. We need to do our part, because you're right. It takes a village for all of this, for the adults' mental health, for the kids' mental health, for all of us together. And you're such a perfect example of this, Scarlett. I cannot thank you enough for all that you do.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, the bottom line is this: we can't always choose what happens to us in life, but we can take our personal power back in how we choose to respond. And I'm reminding everybody of the formula that can help you do that. It's how I live my life every single day. It's courage plus gratitude plus forgiveness plus compassion and action. You can actually do them in that order, and it flows, and it gives you your personal power back. Remember that it is a choice.
Scarlett, well said. Love is a choice. Forgiveness is a choice. Courage, gratitude, all choices. And we can all choose those today. Scarlett, thank you so much for being my very special guest tonight on this show. I absolutely adore you. You have given words of wisdom to so many and hope. So I hope today you all choose love, choose gratitude, choose to make a difference. And I hope everyone will get into a school near them right now, whether you have kids or not, whether you're a grandparent, a parent, a teenager, get into some schools today and introduce them to chooselovemovement.org and see what kind of rapid fire you can start for the good of the world. There's enough bad going on real fast. How about counteracting it with some really good this time? Scarlette, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.
Wow. She was just absolutely amazing. Now, Get Celebritized has a very special guest. This one on a different level, a different upbeat topic now, because this woman I've known for many years, and she is amazing and talented. She is a multi Emmy award-winning makeup artist. She is the CEO and founder of her own agency, the Green Room Agency. She is well known in the Atlanta area alone, but from coast to coast for her business, her makeup artistry that has been seen on the likes of E! News, Ebony Magazine, Atlanta Magazine, Jezebel, USA Today, MTV, CNN, NBC, Bravo, and so much more. I love to embarrass her because she is a rock star. She's my friend, Nyssa Green. Get up here.
I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are the best. Is this the first one for this year?
It is. It is. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you so much. That was an awesome introduction.
Oh, well, you deserve it. You so deserve it. Let's get the greenroomagency.com up here for all to see, because you are a rock star. My daughter and I, my family, we've all known you for so long. It seems like when we first met, we just clicked and we haven't stopped since.
That's true. We did.
I mean, I used to see at the Emmys when I was just, getting my foot in the door. And I remember I was like, wow, there's Nyssa, because you were always winning. It's like, there she goes. She's winning. And I just love you. It's like, look at you go. So I want the viewers to know about what you do. But my listeners and my viewers is a very special group of women, especially, and of course, a few great men, but they want to know about success. They want to know the nuts and bolts. They're philanthropists. So I love featuring great nonprofits. So I have this nice little mix. And now for you to come on, and they want to know how to make it now, not just, normal. Okay, I was here, now I'm here, and I went to school, got a degree, and here I am. Ta-da! It's like, no, there's nuts and bolts in there. There's hard times, there's failures, we want to know the down and dirty for women, young girls, teens who are thinking, I want my own successful business. So talk to us about, first of all, what do you do? And then a little bit, let's start about how you broke into the business and became your own business CEO.
Okay, well, what I do now is I'm a makeup artist that owns an agency that manages, represents, and trains other makeup artists, hairstylists, wardrobe stylists, manicurists, photographers in the fields of entertainment, television, authors, politicians. If it comes to imaging from head to toe, we do it. We have wardrobe consulting, private shopping. So I spend a lot of my day running my agency, and I still have my regular makeup clients that I do. So that's pretty much what takes my day up.
I love that. I love it. You're very good at what you do. So take us back a little bit. How did you break into the business? Because I really love talking to the young viewers nowadays that life's changed. Some aren't going to be going to college. Some may go to college, but there's, different. They don't want to just graduate and get a job and get a gold watch, 30 years later in retirement. They want to pave their own way. So what does it look like to start your own business like this? Because you're very, very successful.
So for me, I have always, when I say always, when I tell you I am walking in my destiny and in my passion, I have always, since I was a little kid, loved hair, makeup, beauty, and fashion. Okay. So by the time I got to high school, I was lucky enough to go to a high school that had a vocational school. I used every single elective that I had in high school for cosmetology.
Good for you. All right. Woman knows what she wants early. I love it.
Right. I did. Okay. And even then, I didn't know what doors would open for me. But because back then, when you were in cosmetology school, the biggest thing that you probably would imagine to do was opening your own salon, which I did, and I hated it.
Oh, really? And I didn't know that. Okay.
I did. I was very, very young when I opened my salon. It was a couple of years after I had gotten out of high school. And it just was something for me. I'm passionate about doing hair and makeup, but the business side of running a salon was not the ticket for a 19, 20-year-old at the time. So, but I always had big dreams when it came to hair and makeup. So I did close my salon, moved to Atlanta, and that is pretty much when my beauty life changed.
Why? What happened? You moved to Atlanta from where?
I moved to Atlanta from Ozark, Alabama.
Oh, there you go. All right. So you moved to the big city, and what happens?
I'm just a small town girl.
Not anymore, you ain't.
But yeah, so when I moved to Atlanta, that is when I just kind of learned more about freelancing and being able, plus Atlanta at the time and still is a music mecca, but now it's music, TV, film, everything. But it was a music mecca. So I quickly knew that I wanted to get connected with part of the music industry in Atlanta. And I was fortunate enough that the lady that taught me makeup, Gwyneth Mosby, was also and still is one of the baddest makeup artists in the industry. And so she was already doing everybody in the music industry, everyone going on tour, doing every music video artist that we saw. She was the one in Atlanta doing everybody.
Now, how did you meet her? Because we all go to like tinsel towns or big cities like, oh, I want to meet so-and-so, but you did. So give us some tips on how do you meet the mentor of your choice?
I met her at a photo shoot, and when I met her, she told me she did 2 classes a year, and she had already done her second class for the year, and pretty much she was over it. Get with me next year. There's my husband over there in the corner. He's my manager. Get with him, and next year you can get a class. And I just bugged her and refused to take no for an answer.
I love it. The squeaky wheel wins again.
Yes.
Don't take no for an answer. Because you hope
Literally.
everybody's taking notes.
That's
so you
true,
find who you want to be
because-
mentored by, and you don't take no for an answer, but you're not obnoxious about it. You know, I mean, it's very flattering when somebody like you comes up and really wants that mentorship so bad because you admire them so much. You weren't being a stalker. You were
Right.
being
No, not at
so
all. Not at all.
complimentary, for sure.
And just in that one day of working with her, it literally opened up my eyes and opened up my world so much that I was like, I have to learn makeup from you. And so even though she said she had done her 2 classes for the year, we kind of got along really well for the rest of the photo shoot. And I just all day kept saying, I really need to get this. Like, I kind of got some of the basics, I understand. And by the end of the day, I had beaten her down.
Literally. So what did she do? Start a class just for you?
Indeed, she did.
Look at that.
Indeed, she did. Literally, just me, her model, my model, 14 hours.
Really?
Yep, that was it.
Wow. I love that. That is such a good lesson to learn, to be persistent and that being that squeaky wheel. And when it's meant to be, it happens. Like you had that. I can tell you probably had that electricity, that clicking. Like when you and I met, we just clicked, you know.
We
You're
did.
very personal.
And now we're board members together.
I know. Look at that.
Winning
Emmy
Emmys
winners.
together.
Oh God, we do everything together. It's so awesome. And this is a great town. You know, Atlanta is such a great town. I want to give everybody hope wherever they're going to listen to this podcast on, that wherever your town is, you don't have to be in a big city. You have a mentor, somebody who's where you want to be in your town or on social media, because nowadays we have social media. We can tap into our greatest mentor, our next greatest coach. And you know, I'm a coach for business, and I can't imagine not having coaches, because it's like trying to drive from New York to LA with no map.
Same. You know? Don't know where I'd be without my coaches. And with that being said, it's so true, because I started this journey way before social media. So for me, one of the big catapults in me moving to Atlanta was, back then I would always see hair credits, and there would always be like hair by Nico for the Crystal agency. So even early on, I had contacted someone else that owned an agency, and I was like, I do hair. I don't ever have slashes in my name because it's never in a magazine. How do I get there? And she's like, where are you? I said, I'm in Daleville, Alabama. And she said, well, it ain't going to happen there.
That's the problem. Being
but again, this was before social media. Nothing was connected. You literally had to pick up and move. Now, if someone wants me to be their mentor, it literally is just a few clicks away.
I love that. So tell us about your mentor program. You're here in Atlanta. Speaking of mentor, do you mentor young girls now? Do you have classes? So if there's young girls and boys and men and women that are saying, I would love to break into this industry, I'd love to be, in this world, what do they do?
They do. They can contact me. Yes, I do have mentorships, both online and in person. The in-person one is where you literally get to come with me, shadow me, watch me, ask me questions while I'm in action. And in some cases, you actually do get to work and assist me. But even online, there's just so much in our industry beyond just being able to do a cute eyeshadow or cute makeup. There's so much more than that. So there, even before you get to doing a person's face, there's a lot we can do online. So so I have a program that's only online and in person.
Does somebody have to be a licensed cosmetologist to touch somebody's face and do makeup?
No, you do not.
Okay.
You do not.
Back in the day, we had heard.
Let me say with the caveat of depending on what state you're in, because I know your podcast goes everywhere and your show goes everywhere. So it depends on what state you're in. I am based in Georgia, where you do not have to have a license to do makeup.
Okay, but they should check with their state. So that's very good point. What are some of your best stories of being an entrepreneur, being your own boss, or have you done a favorite celebrity or favorite shows? So give us some inside scoop of some of your experiences.
Gosh, I have been doing makeup now for over 20 years, and I have a lot of favorite moments because I'm a news junkie, and one of my first makeup jobs was at CNN. I'm a pop culture junkie, and I've gotten to do literally a pop culture TV segment. So I have had a lot of fun, great, memorable moments. Definitely for me, I got to do makeup for Gail O'Neill when she hosted the White House Christmas special.
Really?
Which means that I got to spend 4 days at the White House at Christmas time, and it was amazing. And
there's so much about you I don't know. I should have had you on the show before. How long ago was this? That must have been just amazing honor.
Gosh, it was during Bush's last year.
Okay. Tell us a little bit. We want the inside scoop. How does somebody get something like that if they're thinking they want to get a big break in whatever industry they're in? How did you get that?
I had worked with Gail at CNN.
Okay.
And I don't know if she was still at CNN at the time, but I think she had left CNN. I had left CNN, but we had always talked about modeling. She was a model. She and her twin sister are great models. We had always talked about freelance stuff when we worked at CNN together. And when she got that opportunity, she was thankfully thought of me.
They always say it's not who you know, but who knows you.
Yeah.
And in that case, she knew you, and good people bring good people along with them. So you're bringing up a really good point that I teach my clients all the time. And it's about building relationships. It's about, doing your best at all times, doing what you do.
Yes.
Especially if you can do what you love.
Times.
Yes, at all times. And then when the right opportunities come for people who know you, they know, like, and trust you, you're going to get those calls and say, hey, Nyssa, I'm going to go to the White House and do this. I want you to be my gal. I want you to be with me because you built the relationship. You have shown your talent. You've shown your integrity. And again, I'm a real big believer also, and you've won the awards because awards set you apart. Why wouldn't you bring an Emmy Award winner with you who has the accolades to back up? I just don't want to just bring my friends along, just bring your posse.
Right.
It's like, no, these are qualified people that I'm bringing along to this photo shoot. So I tell all my clients, win the awards in your industry. Realtors have awards, coaches have awards, speakers have awards.
Every industry has awards. That's right. Every industry has them. You're right.
It's not that, even if it's a nominated award, because back and there's beauty pageants that win scholarships. You don't always have to win it. You could be a first runner-up or whatever it is. Use your gifts and talents to raise yourself up the bar for being brave enough to get into a competition of whatever form that is. Even a runner-up, even a top 10, all is part of an accolade. I don't care if you've made top 100, out of 5,000, or out of top 100 out of 101. Okay, you're still top 100.
I love that. And what else? The other thing that I love about you, Araya, is when I first met you, you were like, I know who you are. You've won Emmys. I'm going to win an Emmy too. I want one. I'm going to win one. And now what are you?
Yeah, persistent, just like you. Persistent.
That's it.
But it goes back to doing what you love. When I won this Emmy award, it couldn't have been a more perfect storm because I had done the show in the past. I had done like 22 episodes at that moment. I had submitted before, not done anything. But this one episode was my little girl dream. This is why I love giving women hope. I didn't even start this till after they took out my vocal cord and told me I'd never speak again. I didn't even win it until I was 48 years old. And I wasn't a size 2 and 22 years old and cute and young when I wanted to win the Academy when I was a young girl for being an actress. And it came full circle when I did the show for Noah's Ark, the nonprofit organization that rescues animals and children. And I spent the whole day there. You may remember Wes Sargentson. Remember our news? Yes, he's the one that took me under his wing for this episode and said, I have a show for you to do. And he didn't realize I was completely out of funding. There was just not another show to do. I was going to be done. And he goes, I'll put you in a cage with a lion and a tiger and a bear. Oh my. He didn't realize that was my dream. You knowing me with animals, I will hug a bear all day long. And that's exactly what happened. We went from animal to animal to animal and 11 hours filming. He brought in the NBC camera crew. He was amazing. And I was hugging bears, petting 150-pound pythons. I was petting cougars, interviewing this wonderful woman who rescued children and animals and brought them together, and they healed each other. And it was the most amazing story. And I went 11 hours, didn't take a drink, didn't take a potty break. I mean, I would have been your best client because once I was done, didn't need to fix me up. I was in my heaven.
Love it. I love it. But you want to talk about a full circle moment. So I did Wes's makeup the last 2 years he was in television.
Did you really?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
And got so much good TV advice from him.
Isn't he just a legend?
Yeah, that's awesome. That is
I met him at a fundraiser for Angel Flight when I was doing my shows and all these nonprofits. And he was there. And he's just such a real guy. He used to have the West Side Stories at the end of the news, which was the little segments of good news.
That's right.
He promised this woman, Jama Hedgecoth from Noah's Ark, that someday he'd find the right person to do a full-length show on her. And he had met me like for 5 minutes and knew that I was the one to do this show. So another tip is when a woman especially wants to get something done, doesn't matter how much it costs, we find the money.
We will get it done.
Find a way or make a way.
We will get it done. That's right. That is true. We will. That's true.
We do. We're unstoppable. So yes, so determined, wonderful, doing what we love. So I just hope all the listener viewers can find a way to do what they love. And if you're not doing what you love, do whatever it takes to break into the industry that you love.
Absolutely.
You may think that you're too old to be a prima ballerina. Doesn't matter. You can open up your own dance studio, a virtual dance studio these days. You can be a mentor to ballerinas. There's nothing out of our realm. For one thing, we here live in America, but if you're not even in America with social media, you can break in and be a mentor or coach to anything.
Nothing is out of reach, which means there are no excuses to not be living your dream.
Absolutely.
There are no excuses to not be living your dream, no matter what it is. And if God knows, if the last 2 years have not taught us anything else, it is that life is too short to live anything other than your perfect truth and in your real happiness.
Amen. And my word for this year for 2022 is fearless with a hyphen, the dash. Fearless.
Yes.
With the fear, we've got to live. My last day is going to be my last day. Will I be careful? Yes. Will we be smart? Absolutely. But we can't live in constant fear. Be part of the solution.
That's right.
Live your life and just don't live in such fear. So Nyssa, what's next for you? This is the beginning of 2022. What's on the horizon for you? Tell us what's happening.
What is happening for me? So I have started taking private, exclusive, appointment only makeup clients at Sugarcoat in Phipps Plaza, which is an offshoot of the nail salon that Prayru Kim owns a franchise of. This is the luxury end of it, where they do hair, nails, makeup, and facials there. So I'll be in Phipps Plaza taking appointments there. Nice. But again, I have something big that I'm working on at the end of this month, but I'll talk more about that later.
Let me get an inside scoop. Come on.
I'm really excited about it. And it's in the vein that we were talking about, helping others and really, really helping other makeup artists live their best makeup artist life. And so that's coming at the end of this month. And but yeah, I have a lot of good things coming up. I'm looking for new artists for the agency because we're sort of expanding and growing. So yeah, there's more beauty stuff.
I'm so glad. It's such a booming town here in Atlanta, Georgia, where we are, in case you're listening from wherever in the world. And it's such a great, great spot for sure. So if you're local, or if you can get to Atlanta, if you can get to Nyssa, highly recommend that you do. There's just so much going on here in the industry. So that's so great. So are you on social media? Tell people how they can get a hold of you. Is it thegreenroomagency.com, or do you want them to DM you on Instagram?
I am on Instagram where I'm live now. Hey to all my live friends on Instagram at Nyssa G. That's at NYSSAG. Also, the Green Room Agency is on Instagram at the Green Room Agency. Just send us a DM if you're interested in either working with us or having us work on you.
I love that. I love that. Because I know a lot of people that, are doing their own YouTubes now. And they're doing their TikToks and doing their reels. And they need some help with the makeup. So
absolutely.
I met this guy on a Clubhouse today, and he calls himself your personal paparazzi. And he literally will go around and follow you around with a camera, make you feel like you are J-Lo, Beyonce, all that. And I'll have to connect you because he's from up north, but he'll go anywhere. And he says,
and if you're gonna hire your own paparazzi like the real celebrities do, you better get hair and makeup like the real celebrities do.
You know it. Oh my gosh. And I've been wanting a makeover from you for so long, and then we get shut down. So now my makeover is well overdue. Just turned 60 this year, and I need
this is our year. I know we keep seeing each other only at work stuff, but we've got to have time for this makeover.
We do. Now that I've had, COVID, and that's out of, I've experienced it now. I get back out there. You can come do my face. Let's go do this.
We've got to make it happen. We have to make it happen.
We will make it happen. Nyssa, you have been a joy. It's been too long. I'm so glad I was able to snag you out of your very busy
Finally, I'm so glad we finally made it happen. Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate this.
Oh, I so appreciate you. I knew you'd be so fun, so entertaining. And last words, if you could tell the up and coming wannabe entrepreneurs, or maybe a woman who's maybe lost hope, 40, 45, 50, thinking I'm just too old to start my own business. Give us your piece of advice for 2022.
You're not. You're never too old, first of all. If you woke up with breath in you and life in you this morning, you are not too old to live your dreams and live your best life. And especially if anyone's listening in makeup and the beauty industry is your passion, just know that you're needed in this industry now more than ever. So live your best life. God wants you to live your best life. We all deserve to be living our best life. And there is no time like the present to make it happen.
Amen. Well said. Nyssa Green, the Green Room Agency. You are God said. Mwah. Thank you so much. Mwah. Many more awards to come for you. You are phenomenal. Everybody get a hold of Nyssa Green. She
Likewise, my friend. Thank you so much, Araya. I love and appreciate you and your family so much.
We all adore you. You are our family. Thank you, Nyssa. And thank you, everyone, for listening to Get Celebritized. Until next time, go out there and earn more so you can live more, so you can give back more. Until next time. Woo! See you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.